welcome everybody to season two of Strong Perspective podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Keith Armstrong, with my brothers who are co-hosts, Damon Armstrong, Jaquari Armstrong. Special guest tonight, Willie J Davis, also a
Guess who's
friend of the
back?
show. He's back with us, ladies and gentlemen. And today we're gonna really and truly uh, talk about something that's important to us and our community. Damon, how you doing today, brother?
Doing all right, man. I'm blessed. Above ground, man. As long as I'm in the fight, man, I'm all right.
Okay, rhyming on us. I got you, though. Jaquari, how are you today, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I woke up this morning, man, kind of funky or whatever. So I messed around and lost my medicine bag, so I panicked for a little while, but I found it, and I'm okay.
That's right.
Mr. Davis, how are you today, sir?
All right, all right.
Had a good
Good
day
to see
today?
y'all. Good to see y'all.
You had a
See you too,
good
brother.
day today?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Make it a great day. You know what you got to do.
okay. So why don't we just begin by this? I'm going to do a little bit of house cleaning before we go to Mr. Davis. Uh, Look, this is second season of Strong Perspective podcast. We've been having a great time this last year. We're starting off with year number two. And basically, do us a favor, go to our YouTube channel by the same name. Like, share, and subscribe because the content that we give folks, and this is our own personal opinion because that's what matters to us, we give the real to people, everyday conversation for everyday people. That's very important. As you get older, ladies and gentlemen, or you're already there with us, you understand exactly what I'm talking about and appreciate what I'm talking about. Okay, Willie J, how are
Yes,
you
sir.
today, sir?
I'm
Um,
good. I'm good.
why don't you do this? You was on this show early on. Why don't you refresh our memories on who you are, where you come from, and just talk about it, bro.
Okay. I mean, I'll just say, welcome. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be back on the show, kicking it with some good brothers. Uh, known y'all for a good while. I'm known as in different venues. Willie J Davis, WJ, Big Wheel, Big Willie Wheel. And some people, depending on if they like me or dislike me or don't want to hear what I got to say, they call me this motherfucker. Uh, it
This
just
motherfucker,
depends on
come
what
this
your
motherfucker.
perspective is.
Yes,
And
sir.
that's maybe why I'm back on this for, for a little bit of kicking it. I'd like to say, as far as background, I'm a member of almost every statistical category for a black child. I experienced three fathers. My biological father, which was more of an abandonment experience, and my mother married and had my brother's father, and he was murdered in Detroit, still unsolved to this day. And marrying again as a widow, having my sisters, was Davis. And he made sure I experienced all the effects of a alcoholic parent. Uh, he made sure I knew how they smell, the tendencies, the lying, and those things. So I was able to learn a little bit of something from each one of those men in some capacity. So that has broadened my experiences. I also went to like 7 different elementaries in 3 different states coming up. Although I was born here in Michigan and Detroit and Rollo Township, 8 Mile area, I experienced the back and forth of Kansas and Missouri, and majority of the time here in Michigan. But that experience gave me a lot of experience in the educational uh, um, realm of who's doing what for youth and how some of those kids feel about who's working with them and who's handling the different crises they have. And sure enough, there was a variety of things that I went through as a child and the family went through and experiences, and from racial perspective to just ups and downs. burnout, homelessness, in the term or definition of homelessness, where you burnt out and you're looking for another place. Uh, so with that all, I have been blessed to be able to somehow, not through the showing worthiness through high school that I was worthy of going to college, but through the experience of just wanting to play ball, thinking I'm going to play football. I was trying to figure out how I can get to college with a low grade point, had not knew the seriousness or been able to take advantage of anyone's guidance through high school, but I landed at Western Michigan University, blessed by the MLK program, a summer program giving opportunities to young people coming out of high school, needing a little extra push and a little bit more acclimation to what to expect in college. And that turned out to be a successful move. Getting my undergrad in recreation and psychology and a master's in educational leadership, and working in different fields of community-based, residential, the educational system, public, private, charter schools, and those things, and just making things happen within the community through recreation and other programs, YMCA and those things. So that's in a nutshell. It's a big nutshell, but I do everything big. All right.
Yeah, big nut. I got you, dog.
Uh,
Couldn't grab. Okay. So
all right.
we all, the four of us spoke, and um we talked about a lot yesterday.
Yes, had a good time.
Yeah, we really did. So here's why we're here today. You know, what I want to do is read this one question to you, just based on our conversation,
Okay.
because right now the capacity of what you do with children. What would you say that was?
Well, in education, I
Yes, sir.
help equalize the opportunity for them to learn, for them to um, correct some of the ill thinking they may have about how they should be receiving their education, uh, how they should receive the teacher, getting rid of some of those issues they may have that create the filters in which they need to absorb some of this and handle situations, social
Okay.
work, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
But just typically make it happen and get them through the school year.
Okay. So the question I want to present to you is this: can you explain to us what you see that are some of the difficulties the children of our community face in the school systems, if any, that they face?
Some of the difficulties that children face in our school system. Well, they struggle to find out who they really are and where they've been so that they can create their destination, create their own opportunities. Depending on their social economical issues or experiences, some of them are handicapped with behavior issues, um, issues of hunger, issues of homelessness, uh, uh, poor sleeping habits, poor supervision,
Okay.
and some of those things. So they create situations in the school where a child may come to school and all these things are carry-ins that affect how they receive the basic lesson, introduction to the morning, introduction to the curriculum that's trying to be absorbed. Yep.
Okay. Okay. So to say that, I want to just let everybody know I have retired law enforcement, but my last 10 to 12 years, I was a school resource officer in high school. So relating to what Willie is saying, I could see all those things happening to young men and women,
Oh yeah.
and I was always the one. Once the line was uh, crossed or seemingly crossed, that I was called. So I think it's a good question to ask you because we talked about it last night. You, Jaquari, and myself are at three different stages. You are in the front trying to help direct children from the second stage, that's me, and making mistakes and being caught into a system that's not designed to really help children. And I'm speaking about the law enforcement system because the law enforcement system is a corrective system. Is what it is. It
Yeah.
is a band-aid. It is it makes children and adults afraid of it because what it does, right?
Okay.
So, and then the third is Jaquari. Jaquari is the penal part of it,
Mm-hmm.
which is a therapeutic, corrective part of it, but it's the lockup part of it in case the first two corrective measures um, didn't work. So I asked you and Jaquari, you first, Will. Um, what are the kind of things do you feel can be done to steer the child away from those kind of things? Being caught up into running into me and then later on down the line. Even though, let me just say this, even though it feels like it's a gigantic percentage of these children, it's not a small percentage, but it's enough percentage where it's too many.
Yes, it is.
I just wanted to throw that in there, but go ahead.
All right. To answer the question directly, I think it's us collectively providing hope and opportunity. Hope and opportunity, it can be very powerful. And for a lot of kids, it don't cost uh, the distributor of it nothing. Empowering, encouraging, uh, creating opportunities for them to experience different things as they grow up. At the level I'm at, education, elementary, middle school, high school, it's abundance of experiences that make the child not ignorant to a lot of consequences, choices, decision making, and other things. In the course of that time, kids need to experience so much if we're collectively doing it that they make better decisions as they go out, branch out in their different directions. The more they can experience, the more they gain knowledge. Ignorance is a lack of knowledge. If you're ignorant to something, it ain't a bad thing as long as you're able to educate yourself. I mean, through any conversation, we can become enlightened if we want to be. And we can challenge anything we hear by asking a question and making sure we take that question and figure out what it is we didn't know and what it is we just obtained from whoever presented whatever. And then you do checks and balances. Don't let someone lead you in a way to where you believe everything that's been said without doing your own checks and putting it in your perspective. Again, everything come back to perspective. That's how you look at things. And we can all look at one tree and depending on where we're standing, get a different perspective. Whether it be as big as the other tree or we up on it and it looks huge as all get out, whatever the perspective is. Now, I go from the perspective that you just laid out. I'm with the elementary, middle school, high school, and then kids branch out. Some of them might meet you, law enforcement, in that realm between kindergarten to high school in some capacity. What's the experience they had? What's the perspective they had? It might be the kindergarten whose daddy just got taken away. It might be the child that was part of the raid when people came in. it starts to formulate opinions on how they feel about law enforcement. Was it a good experience? Or was it an experience where they feel like my daddy was railroaded, or my daddy was killed, my daddy was murdered, my daddy was beaten, my daddy didn't have an opportunity? Okay. So depending on the perspective, it guides a lot of things. So after any given piece, we need to be processing things. You know how many kids get suspended, and there's no processing as to why they were suspended. It tells a child that you're suspended just because we want you away from the school for 5 or 10 days. Now, when that child comes back, it's our duty, our obligation to process what it was. Was it just that, or were you trying to stop time, have them learn something at home with the parent as to the importance of school and why they should be in school, and help them retain? So, from one side, the school should be coming up with alternatives to suspension. The parents should be having the time to take time with the child as they're suspended. Don't let them be empty there on the game, playing all day. Some kids will be home 5 days by themselves. Some kids will be there 5 days with a pedophile. Some kids will be there 5 days with other kids that's supposed to be in school, or picking up bad habits, or sitting there with the parents, or whatever. The bottom line is we utilize everything we have to create hope and opportunity for our kids as they come up. We don't want them to be with Ja'Cory in lockup, because you would say that's too late. When they in the moment with you in law enforcement trying to figure out whether they did a crime, or they did this, or they need to just go on home, or you need they're a minor or they're adult, or at the split of a second, you got to determine whether they have a gun in their hand or a phone. At those times, you don't get to make that decision of giving them an opportunity. All right. Hope might be gone. Opportunity might be gone. Okay. So we do that now so they don't be in that situation, or they make decisions so they don't have to be. Okay. At any given time, you can change your direction. How many people have been going the wrong way through a community, or swearing up and down? They know how to get to this party or this building or whatever, and they keep going in the wrong direction rather than seeking help from GPS or a friend or anybody, or just stopping and look at landmarks. How many people go in the wrong direction rather than checking, seeing, confirming, and going the other way? That's the same as with somebody doing something right now that's criminal. They can stop at any time and go the next direction. Somebody on the run right now, but they're going to put their life in jeopardy, their family's life in jeopardy, with somebody trying to get them. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to say anything, but at any given time, you could change your direction. At any given time, you could do the right thing. How many fathers ain't seen their child, ain't doing nothing, ain't doing jack? You could start today. The kid ain't gonna believe you. They believe you're gonna be gone in 2 months. They'll be gone, and then they'll believe you'll be gone in a year. Then they think, oh, he'll be gone in 2 years. But after a while, your consistency will maintain and overcome your absence before. So you can start at any time doing better. When we know better, we do better, flat out. Hope and opportunity is the biggest thing we could do. And a lot of that is being crushed. Don't let me get on the whys, but that's where I'll be right now.
Well, you'll get your opportunity. And Ja'Cory, Damon, after Ja'Cory answers, I want your input on this, because you had time to marinate on what they both had to say about it. Ja'Cory, what do you have to add to it?
Just that, as far as the school system goes, man, I think our community in particular, man, we've kind of put too much responsibility on teachers in the classroom, and the fact that we don't really educate our kids, to things that matter to the world when they get home or before they leave home. I mean, I understand, and I'm not stepping on anything, as far as teacher responsibility goes. It's huge, man. It's absolutely huge, and we should definitely have a better vetting system, for teachers, because just outside of the nobility of being a teacher or whatever, man, the impact you have through the relationship with kids. Your relationship with kids is immense, man, and it's just so many different aspects that you guide a child in from that point of view. But as far as the parents go, man, I mean, we don't send our kids to school just so we know, just simply just so we know where they are for 8 hours a day. We need to do tons of follow up when they get home, man. I used to talk to my daughter about, what'd you learn today? Something as simple as that, you know. And I get the sighs and the heaves and the holes and everything, but eventually, once we start talking about subject matter, and I start coming from where I'm coming from as far as something that she learned in school that day, and she's looking at me, and I know she's asking herself, well, how the hell does he know this? You know, that's my approach with young people. I emphasize that you never stop learning just because you're not in school anymore. You know, and whether you want to admit it or not, education and learning is important to you, no matter if you hate school or not. So from my interactions with them, you know, they got school and everything and that's structured, man. But I always preach, modeling the behavior, modeling appropriate behavior. And I give them examples and I let them ask me questions. Has my approach always worked? No, it hasn't. But that's why I've kept my freedom. I've maintained my freedom, man, and I've put myself in positions where I could learn from books and other people. We have to put emphasis on the fact that education is an opportunity. And in order to enjoy that opportunity, there's a certain way you need to conduct yourself. You can do anything that you set your mind to in school from school, but you got to carry yourself in a certain way to enjoy that opportunity, man.
Okay. Okay. Damon, before you go, I want to read this. I know everybody see it on the screen, but the thing about it is it kind of goes hand in hand with what Will and Jaquari was saying. Terry says hope should start at home. Stop making the schools responsible for raising your kids. Now, going to you, Damon, what would you feel would be a big difference in servicing our children as far as preparing them for school, not to go to second stage and third stage, me and Jaquari?
I think it's trying to figure out with the individual child, man, where they feel they fit in at, man. You know what I'm saying? Because you dealing with a lot of stuff like Will spoke about the home environment. Coming from a home environment, the kid might be dealing with a lot of things, man, that might be detrimental to their health and their focus and understanding. You know what I'm saying? When you hungry and you go to school, you're not thinking about learning. So the only thing you thinking about is lunchtime, because that, you know what I'm saying, that's your motivation for going there. To be honest, you know what I'm saying. So I think it's important, man. I think it's important to, man, I know it's a tough job to be a teacher, man. That's the most difficult, one of the most difficult jobs to do, man. Dealing with so many different personalities, you have to be a social worker and a teacher at the same time, you know. And I think it's important, man, that the teachers, before they go into the profession, understand that it's an investment in a young life. You know what I'm saying? So you can't go in with your biases, man. You know what I'm saying? You got to go in with the understanding that, you know what, I'm dealing with this individual kid based on where they're coming from. And if you're not willing to take on that, if you're not willing to take on that challenge, and at the same time teach them, then there's going to be kids falling to the wayside, man. They're going to fall to the wayside because, different things happen in their life where they're not able to focus, sitting in the chair. You know what I'm saying? I mean, think about that, man. You got kids. If you were to walk into a classroom and just watch. You see kids walking around, moving around, not being able to sit in the chair for a long period of time. You know what I'm saying? So I think that requires imagination. Okay, how do you get this kid's attention based on your experience with them? You know what I'm saying? I think it's a difficult balance, but it can be achieved. You know, how do you get somebody to be interested in something? Understand what their interests are. You know what I'm saying? Or have some idea. If you don't know, be creative in getting that attention. If you got an athlete, be it high school, all world, pro, what college, whatever, they walk in that room and that kid recognizes it, they immediately getting that kid's attention, man. They immediately getting that kid's attention because it's like, oh wow, that's somebody that I admire. You know what I'm saying? That's somebody I look up to. So for me, it's about, and I'm just speaking from personal experience, man. When I was growing up, I was an academic kid, but it wasn't popular with my peers, my classmates, and I was like, Will, I went to what 5, 6 different grade schools, so every time I went into a situation, I had to figure out where I fit, who was going to be friendly to me, whether or not my teacher, was paying attention to, whether or not I was uncomfortable, whether or not I felt safe in the situation. You know what I'm saying? Because you imagine, man, kid walking in there, don't know anybody. There's a fear factor right there, man. They're not going to learn anything if that's what they're facing. And I know I'm saying a whole lot, but I'm thinking about.
I'm ready to go.
I'm saying I'm just thinking about my own personal experience.
Okay.
I'm thinking about my own personal experience. I went to speech class. You know what I'm saying? At this particular grade, so I went to speech class. So when I was interacting with the friends I was trying to make, I was speaking. They would say, "You speaking white? You speaking proper?"
They sent every black school in our age group. They sent every black kid to speech class.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, I had
crazy.
a lisp.
That's crazy.
But I had a lisp, so I had to enunciate my words. So that automatically put me over here. You know what I'm saying? So how did I navigate that? I navigated that by throwing my chest out and ready to fight or go get my big brother. And that had absolutely nothing to do with academics, man. But I mean, I think it was a survival tactic. So how do you get into that with a kid and get them to understand that, hey, you here for this reason, so that's going to benefit you.
All right, well, look, let
ready
me
to go.
Now, hold on. You ready to go? So what we get ready to do?
Bill Blast got me going.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm gonna ask the question so you can address this. Okay.
Yeah, that's right up your alley, boy.
Let's read what Bill. I just do this for tech. I know everybody can read this, but I just do it to address it. Bill Blast says the school system has been a joke to young black kids, and it don't get them ready for real life. They are far behind other groups, far as learning and having access. My question is, here's the thing. How much? Because I grew up in a household where I heard my parents tell me that the responsibility to education starts here. Home training starts here, right? I was blessed to have 2 parents and loving grandparents and loving aunts and uncles. I was blessed. Me and my brothers was blessed to have that, right? Not everybody can have it. So the question is this: how much of the responsibility is it to the household as opposed to the school? Will, you got your motorcycle ready, man? Have at it.
Now, did you tailored his question, or did you ask a different question?
It's a question that coincides with what's going on with what Bill Blass said, because you got to think about it. The question I asked piggybacks on what this is right here in front of you. But answer his question, Will,
All
and
right.
you'll answer mine.
Okay. Yes, Joe. Yes, not functional for us. Yes, leaving us out. Yes, leaving us behind. Yes, not addressing our issues, constantly identifying us as a lower level citizen in the community, that we should be looked at or be overlooked. When I spoke about hope and opportunity, it leaves us hopeless as we get older, as we graduate and move on, as we know better later. When you think about hopelessness or not having hope, that's like not having a plan. Okay? Not being adequately equipped, going into a place trying to fix something and not having the right tools. You see, these things are things we need in order to continue. You see, the system as it exists now is systematically rigged, systematically unjust. It leaves out a lot of opportunity. So, unfortunately, there's a lot of great educators. And when I say educators, I ain't just saying teachers or whatever. I'm talking about everybody that educates or teaches a child more than what they know. Educates them in a way that helps them be able to teach themselves or take advantage of things to educate themselves or to push for themselves, even within the school and outside the school. Because the school system helped make a child lose identity for the lack of education of. When they learn history and not learn the correct history or all the history or the history that involves and put them into place or shows their worthiness in that history or doesn't dictate the correct information, limits the growth of kids by saying what they can't do or dumbing it down or meeting kids where they're at, but you leaving other kids behind. Suspensions being 10 times higher for a colored child than the other child, and you not know the reason. Not hiring the right staff, but hiring buddies or other people in that place. Why do you have some districts that the staffing doesn't look like the children in that district? Why is that? You can't find them. They're not graduating. They're not producing. They're not qualified. I beg to differ, because I'm in a situation where I know hands down you can get statistics. You can get actual facts, whether it be in terms of money or successes or reduced suspension rates. And you will find that there's been some productivity that's been overlooked. And why? Because a lot of times it's self-preservation of whoever's in charge, whoever need to look good or need to get by or need to be a subordinate to something, rather than the true facts and doing things in the best interest of children. Now, when you say in the best interest of a child, measure it up. If a teacher can't present the information or has poor classroom management, address it, but address it in a way that you can help them if they want to be helped. Don't grade them down or diminish their pay. If you want to help them, teach them how to do it in a way that they can be receptive and make change, unless you simply replace them with somebody that can do it. Now, the hardcore facts is, if you went into school and sat there or a fly on the wall, you'd be hurt, you'd be crushed, and you would feel hopeless because there ain't no plan to overcome a lot of this. But in the course of what I do, what makes me so gratified in the things I do Every single child that I say hello to and touch, I mean it. And I'm letting them know that they can do and be better than whatever they see that's at their disposal, what they think is or obtainable. They can take whatever they know and build upon it. The kid that slow reading, I say, look, let's just review this and review this and review this until you get better at it. And when you plant that seed and see that they can get better at this individual things, that empowers or lets them understand that they can do better. Because a lot of them don't think they can. And from then on, it's all the digression in the book. Now, see, we have a problem when it's more obtainable to be like that person in the community that's doing their thing. And we done all did our thing at some point, okay? But when they feel as though it's easier to do it this way than to do it this way that their parents are trying to present to them, they're going to be in trouble. We talked about last time when I was on the show, we talked about the community and the crisis in the home. The crisis in the home, when the kid come out the house, each house represents different facets of life in which they could go into, whether it be the gang, whether it be the pedophile's house, whether it be the preacher's house, the recreation director, the football coach, the older woman, the older man, whatever. You have opportunity because the child is in a vulnerable position. They're in crisis. So when they leave out that house, it's a smorgasbord. How, before they make it to the corner, will they ever survive? So we got to have more advertising in the community about opportunities to go certain places when you need to rebuild yourself, to empower yourself, because somebody ain't encouraged you. Last night, I know Damon was talking about encouragement, and that is on point. You know, and a lot of people need that pickup when you can't pick up yourself. And my mama used to say, when I called home from college, wondering when I was going to graduate, the first thing she said when I called, I had that slow music playing. I think it was Al Green. If I gave you my love, tell you what I'm going to do. Hey, she said, first, turn that sad ass music off and talk to me. And boom, before you know it, I turned the sad ass music off. I was able to communicate. Ma, I'm gonna graduate. I'm gonna make this happen. I just a little slow right now. Just things going on. I'm a little distracted, and I think the grass is greener over here. So I go over there and I find out it's just like this across the street. You know. So with that being said, we got to turn off the sad ass music and start doing things for ourselves, like you alluded to last night, Keith. With what's wrong with a facility that we all come up with the curriculum to teach our kids better, or to add to whatever, or to do corrective teaching, or to do corrective measures that correct the ill thinking that we have in the community or individuals have. I mean, we can make stuff happen that way. And then I mentioned we don't have to have that brick and mortar place. We can have us. Okay. Like when I went to the Million Man March, each one teach one. You can have your car, your community, your neighborhood, your house, whatever it is. You take and teach whatever you know that will benefit that child. We're creating hope and opportunity.
Okay.
Hope and opportunity. We need to make that into a song. No, okay, let me stop.
Yeah, because look, you're going to still get your opportunity, brother.
Right.
You got to get it all in. What I want to do is, Jaquari and Damon, I want you to give us some quick statements.
We got to play fair.
Yes, all right. We got to play fair. Yeah. Will J Davis.
The notion of having, you know, a specific resources that we could send our kids to for them to get that education, you know, that's a huge concept, man. But you know, I think we really need to be guided in exactly what we teach them when they get there. I mean, education, like I said, education is the key to everything. But a strong second to education is resilience, man. We need to teach our children resilience. We need to teach them to be man enough and woman enough to walk away from fucked up situations. You know, true. If they were able to better govern themselves emotionally, that's what would keep them in the classroom. Unless they was just like facing the absolute tyrant. You know, that's number one. And just to address Terry's questions, all school systems,
Yeah.
are you saying that we should have stayed segregated? Honestly, segregation had its merits.
It did.
It had its merits,
It
and
did.
I
In
alluded
my opinion.
yeah, I alluded to the point on our last podcast. Before segregation, the Pullman porter in the neighborhood had status because he woke up every morning and got on that train and humped them bags, and that was a hard hell of a job to have. But he took care of his family, and achieved a level of affluence in the neighborhood. Where is that? I mean, now we idolize athletes and entertainers, and we've put our, we've grown our expectations and our notion of success to like proportions of a megalomaniac. I mean, okay, success is not only having $1 billion at your disposal. Success is, getting to the point where you could raise your children to sit back and rest well in the fact that you able to get them what they need, and every once in a while get them what they want.
Got
You know, but resilience, man, resilience. I can take it. It don't matter what it is. It don't matter what it is, and it's just not. I mean, not just resilience against the man or white people. Resilience against each other. You know,
Yeah.
let's build these kids' self-esteem. And this is coming from somebody from my own experience. This is coming from somebody who ain't had but 3 pairs of jeans going to school, but I went every day.
And two of
Went
them
every
was
day.
mine.
Man,
Two
you
was
wrong for that shit,
That's right.
boy.
No, I'm
That's
just
right.
fucking with you.
I mean, that's I mean, hey, look, hey, it's funny now. I say it because it's funny now, but shit, we was
Oh,
poor,
it wasn't funny
and I
then.
had I had I had absolutely no reason and no motivation outside of myself to further my education.
That's real. That's real. Damon, real quick, man, so we can move on to this situation.
Man, here's the thing, man. As far as I'm speaking from personal experience, which I passed on to my kids, man. If you're sitting in a room with a bunch of other kids, you know what I'm saying? You can feel like you're on an island, man. You can feel like that. You can feel isolated, like you don't belong there. I think it's incumbent upon the teachers getting the right teachers in the right situations, especially in inner city schools and stuff like that. You can't send somebody from Marshall to Detroit and expect them to keep those kids' attention because they don't identify with them, man. You know what I'm saying? There's not that connection. I remember when we were in Detroit, most of our teachers were black. I remember I can't remember her name. She like always tell me, tuck your shirt in your pants. You know what I'm saying? Keep your head up. Sit up. Pay attention. You know what I'm saying? And that was that direct contact. You know what I'm saying? So when that kid went back to that class, they knew they had to do what? Tuck the pants in, pay attention.
You're right.
You know what I'm saying?
You're right.
And that's how you individualize it, man. When a teacher can recognize that a kid is going through something, they can, when they recognize that, then they address that. And when they address it, that lets that kids know they got two choices. They're gonna rail against it, or they're gonna realize that this teacher gives a damn. You know what I'm saying? Hey, did you eat something? Something as simple as when a kid walk in, hey, did you eat something today? Because I noticed when you come to my class, you're the first one to the in line for the lunchroom. You know what I'm saying? It's noticing those little nuances, man, about a kid. And yes, that's a hard task, man. But that's what you go into the profession to do, right? Isn't it? To educate? You know what I'm saying? If you don't personalize it, man. If you don't personalize it, how are you going to get that individual child to understand that they matter? That they belong there? You know what I'm saying? And yes, you're going against peer pressure and you're going against all those things, and that's where the family comes in. Hey man, your kid don't pay attention, and his buddy always trying to get him to do dumb stuff. How you gonna address that? So you're sharing the responsibility, man. You know what I'm saying? So you got the parents, be a single parent. Let's just get rid of that notion that a single mother can't raise a child. That's just bullshit. You understand what I'm saying? Because they more focused. They're the ones that come up to the school and raise hell. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's all about getting the kid, man, just asking the kid if they had something to eat this morning. You know what I'm saying? I watched some teachers, man, when I was working in the schools, out in the schools, I watched some teachers, man, say, hey, did you have something to eat? Come on, baby. They take it to the closet where they got snacks in there where they spent with their own money. They bought with their own money. Sit down and eat. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and finish it, then they come down here and sit down at your desk. And then when they come back and sit down, they ask them the question. If the kid don't know the answer to the question, then they know that they didn't do the homework. So, hey, all right, I'm gonna focus on this kid, make sure they understanding the curriculum. You know, and then the kids that out who is on point, they lead in the class. Hey, I want you to do this while I take care of this kid over here. You know what I'm saying? So there's a community involvement there. You know, between parents, teachers, and the kids who are advanced and who do understand. Hey, you know what? Be a leader in your community. Be a leader in this classroom. Teach the class. You know what I'm saying? And then monitor and make sure you stay on top of the bullying aspect of it, man. You know what I'm saying? Be compassionate when you helping your fellow classmate. You know, and that kind of thing. And that's just my, my look at it from my own personal standpoint. Okay. And what I passed on to my kids.
Okay.
I totally agree with that, Dana.
We're going to address Brother Kwame Scott's statement here after I say this.
And Terry's with the separate too, possible.
Yeah, that was
Corey was able to comment, but both of those are good comments.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's what I want to say before we really quick. Everything that's said in the comments and what our speakers have said today, nothing opposed each other. Mm-hmm. Each thing was in different sections of the program.
Congruence.
Different sections, dude. First of all, I know you educated.
Don't be offended because I hit you, brother.
That's bullying. That's bullying.
Don't mess up my flow. Look. Hey, he did this. Congruence. He shook his head like, congruence. What the fuck is that?
I teach my boys to be flippant about their education. Be arrogant about it.
But let me just say this. I want to make sure everybody understands that it's in congruence of everything. Everything is flowing. It's just different sections at different moments of the progress of trying to find the answer. I just wanted to point that out. You know what I mean? Now, Will, if you want to address Terry, that was 10 minutes ago, but you are allowed to because you are a guest.
Okay, I want to address Scott too. I got other people out there too.
I get that, but you want to address Scott.
Yeah, well, I mean, with the Scott, I think it's open for conversation. I think it should be an active conversation.
We're gonna get to that, but you said Terry. I just want to be
well with Terry. In short, that needs to be one of those opportunities because we know competition can be a good thing. Just like you said, all our perspectives churn up and collaboratively make things congruent, bring it together. Let's get the best piece out of it. Let's have powerful venues that lead to Kwame Scott's Rites of Passage program, the programs that are about us, teach our kids who we are so they can grow and figure out who we are. You know, one powerful thing to be understood is something when I do in some of my lost years, you know, I created little poems about different things, and one was, in the beginning there was only hope of, in the end there will never be any man as great as I. My soul, once one of the mightiest of kings, is now divided by the seas. All that remains is 1/3 of a man trying hard to accept what few will ever understand. African ancestor, ships breaking our spirit, leaving others behind over the water, feces, vomit, dead, cramped space, dialogues mixed, the ship destroying, taking the spirit, the passage over, being horrible in the experience and conditioning us to be humbly gratified for a meal in some air on the shores of the East Coast coming into America. And now we stand as 1/3 of that, trying to figure out what the hell happened. 1/3 of a man trying to figure out what few will ever understand. That's it. You see what I'm saying? That's some deep stuff. Okay? Almighty land, why must we leave? That's must be what they was really saying. You know, as they said, the bowels of the ship created amazing grace. The bowels of the ship, when we came up for air and you see nothing but water around you, what do you think you were really saying as you leaving the motherland? Almighty land, why must I leave? This water never ends. I once would run, but now I'm bound. Once free, can you help me? That should be the lyrics. Okay? Now I leave that. Soak on that. Just take a little time.
Okay. Well, I have this question.
Right.
I have this question for you guys.
I gotta give you that, man.
I like that.
No. I'm trying to play it off. I'm gonna wait till we get off to let you know. But
Okay.
I'm gonna give you 2 thumbs up on that, brother.
I kind of wanted to respond to that, but you know what? Go ahead, moderator.
Yeah, I mean, we can't. You can't follow it. Don't follow it.
No. We ain't gonna mess with it right now, dog. So what we're gonna do is when we come to you, I'll come to you last on this question, Damon, and then answer the question first, and then you can chime in on what you wanted to say. Okay? So here's the question. We're gonna have, and this is my optimistic spiritual view of this. We're going to have a younger audience view this in the future. As the age group that we're in right now, I want you to give us a short description of your experience from staff, interaction with the kids in school when you was growing up. Okay? Y'all dig what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'll start with me. I was raised to be the very best that I could be. Whether I fell short, was give everything that I had when it came to education. My father was always a teacher to us. He always taught us about life, about who we are, and what kind of people we can be, what was awaiting us in our future, right? So my experience in elementary, middle school, and high school was being just as smart as everyone there and proving it, but still looked at as a large black man. The stereotype, a double negative in their eyes. A black man, a dark-skinned black man, imposing, threatening. But hell, I'll pat myself on the back. I am ultra intelligent, right? But I was taught that I would make a great construction worker. I would make a great carpenter. Well, what about college? Oh, I don't think, I heard this person, I don't think you'd be ready and prepared for it. So I say this to say that was my experience. And the only reason why I made it through is because before I stepped foot into a school, my education was well on its way. Jaquari?
Well, I was my experience, man. I was a fringe kid, and what I mean by that is I wasn't a thug, so I didn't get any attention from that, and I wasn't smart or rich. But the thing that I was, and I believe the thing that helped me get through was the fact that I was present. Didn't matter what the situation was, didn't matter how I was feeling. I knew and understood I needed to be in this specific area in order to get some things that was going to help to push me forward. Being present, man, being as alert as I possibly could, and understanding that what I'm sitting here for has purpose outside of the things that are important to me today. You know, just encouraging kids to be present, man, and and acting in that moment, specifically doing what they're doing here. If you can spend hours, uh, out of your day texting emojis to each other, you can spend uh, uh, you know 2 hours listening to history, being taught about history. And no matter how useless you believe it to be today, it's only going to add to who you are, as a person in the future. I mean, personal development, man, is also one of the things that we need to emphasize when we're teaching our children. Filling up that toolbox, man. You know, we talked about Booker T. Washington yesterday. Do I agree with all his politics? Mm, so I have questions, but the fact that he understood that if you fill your bag full of skills and make yourself indispensable on all fronts, it doesn't matter if this man tells you that you okay, well, you come from this place, or you're not that educated. If he needs you to do something and you have the skills to do it, he will pay you, and you will gain your independence through those resources if you handle them right. Now, to convey that message, like I said, they've got to be present. So therefore, I mean, we got to figure out a way to educate them in all aspects. I mean, how would you feel about your sons Keith having to sit through an elocution class? How would you feel about that?
I didn't like it when I had to do it.
You didn't like it when you had to do it, but do you
But
still remember it?
it's a useful tool, though. It is
It's a
what it is.
useful tool.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. In order to be in a place where I'm getting filled with education, in order to be around people who could possibly mentor me to the next stage of my life, there's a certain way I need to conduct myself.
Without
You know,
changing yourself.
without changing my, yeah, exactly. Like my brother Damon just said, when I go and present myself to a person who I'm seeking something for, I'm gonna tuck my shirt in. I'm gonna shake his hand. I'm gonna look him in the eyes. I'm gonna be sincere with my statements and my thoughts, and understand that this man has something to give me. And I'm gonna humble myself, and I'm going to accept it. Once I accept it, I understand the fact that I have this knowledge, and I could either accept the knowledge full on, or I could expand my knowledge and go and research it. Especially in today's times, when everything is every answer will come to you as quickly as you can Google it. And that's it.
Willie J,
Yes. Do I get a?
on you, brother.
And I want to recap. Fresh me up on the.
Description of your elementary, junior high, high school experience from the educational system.
From that. And I spoke about that with my various elementaries, and it was very different because uh, there was either we were the only black family, like in Kansas, in the school. I believe in Leavenworth, there was a mix, and the experience was diverse, but yet slow, bias. In Kansas City, Missouri, it was a different experience. It was we were one of maybe three black families in the school. So whenever I ran fast, I was like O.J. Simpson. If I boxed well or had a little scuffle, I was Muhammad Ali. You know, it wasn't much competition, so they didn't know I wasn't the fastest, and they didn't know I couldn't box the best. But the color of my skin made me the best person for those particular titles.
No doubt.
Moving on back to the Detroit area, and my experience was that I realized there was a difference in the curriculum, difference in what I was being taught, and some of the expectations on how well I did. The experience was I didn't get a lot of talk about the continuum of college. I didn't get that talk unless we were talking about football or basketball. I didn't get the leadership that I wanted uh, to help me with the situations I was dealing with, from everything from parental attemption of suicide, um, violence, um, uh, the situations of being victims of robbery or your house being burnt up. Um, and not speaking of any racial burning up, but more or less, unfortunately, black on black. Uh,
Gotcha.
you
Yeah.
know, and the other experience that come with that: displacement, abandonment, loss, grief. I told you my uh, brother's father, who was my father at the time, was murdered, and then the alcoholic father, and how you deal with those things. Promises that never come true, and what we're gonna do, or what we're gonna do next, or where we should be, or the loss of what we had. Now, with all those things were things where somebody could have stepped in and helped me and guide me in different ways, and I had them, but Mama had to put them before me. She made sure she paid our little physical fee so we could play ball, football, basketball, and so most of my guidance came from the different individuals that were put in our life because we were playing sports, or involved in that. And if it wasn't for that, I don't think my way would have went towards school. I went thinking that I could be the next whatever, but I experienced watching Roots in seventh, eighth grade. During that time of junior high, I was watching Roots. So I didn't want to move for nobody. I didn't want to listen to nobody. If they wasn't the color of my skin, I had a problem with it. Because after watching that, I say, listen, I ain't been taught none of this in the school. I haven't been. So what is this? This is at a certain place in a certain another state. Why don't I know about all this? Why did I get this whole thing that Mama allowed me to stay up and watch all of it? Why did I get all of that and had to absorb all of that? And so I should not trust you if you much lighter than me on the peller side. So I did things like wouldn't move off the sidewalk. If I was on that sidewalk, where it would be a courteous thing, the man ain't did nothing to me, but I was strong arming and pushing my weight around. Hell, the guy caught me the last day of school, whooped me up, grown man, white guy, and he just beat my little butt. Right? Ain't called me Negro, Ningard, didn't say black, nothing. He just knew this kid needed a butt whooping. He didn't know what my motivation was. But he made sure that last day he was gonna get me. And he got me. I took that butt whooping. And you know what? Wasn't nothing wrong with that man. That man didn't do nothing to me. And neither did he call me anything that made that ass whooping be racial. He just said he was wrong. But because of where I was feeling and how I interpreted it, there wasn't no processing to what I was seeing. So the difference, like that school that brother man say with rites of passage and all that, we process and do everything in the light that we ain't trying to hurt nobody. We're trying to empower ours, teach ours, so we can present a better product. See, because like we alluded to and talked about last night, Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they say they wasn't the best. They was the best that made it to that level and got out. They'll all say somebody that they thought they couldn't stop, somebody that could have been a better scorer. Do you think we made all these accomplishments with blood and heart transplant and even the presidency? Do you think that was the best one? Think about the baseball with Jackie Robinson. Was he the best player to break the color lines, or was he the one that could take what it needed to be taken in that time so that we can make it successful for others to follow? Yeah. So sometimes it might not be the best product put forth off the top, but it's the best one for what we had then in that time. We had Black Wall Street. We had communities where we were doing things for ourselves because of the money factor. We was taking money out of other people's pockets. So it was somebody eager to see us fail. It was somebody eager to see a fight. You see what I'm saying? Okay. I mean, I will always say Martin Luther King, a great man, was made greater by the fact that you had another great man, Malcolm X. Which one you want to deal with? That's it.
Okay. Now, I kind of felt where you was relating to your experience in school.
I'm trying to be soft.
I got you. Great job. Damon, I want you to answer this, but we want to get the Bill Blass' statement on the screen. And I want y'all guys' opinion about it. So go ahead, talk about, your experience in school, elementary, junior high, junior high and high school. You know what I mean? And then we can go on to this question or this statement.
I think for me, man, coming from Detroit, where you was dealing with predominantly black staff and predominantly black school, there was a certain amount of attention that you got where they held you accountable. You know what I'm saying? They actually taught you something. You know what I'm saying? To where when we moved to Ipsy, you know what I'm saying, there was a expectation. Parents always kept that expectation on you. But what I struggled with, man, is that I had found newfound freedom, man. You know what I'm saying? In Detroit, you was relegated to 2 blocks. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it was. Outside of that block, you had to deal with. Keith, you know what we had to deal with.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just to get to school. Getting to Ipsy, there was this newfound freedom. I had access to more freedom. I was more independent. You know what I'm saying? So I spent a lot of time in the library, stuff like that. And fortunately, there was a woman there who was white who introduced me to a lot of stuff. Hawthorne, O'Brien, Shakespeare, all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Stuff I learned before I even got to the classroom. What I struggled with is that I understood the curriculum, but because I've been passed through so many grade schools and stuff like that, I was invisible. Man. You know what I'm saying? What I mean by invisible, I was always the new kid who had to become acclimated to new friends and a new environment and stuff like that. So I was more focused on trying to fit in and try not to be the odd man out. I didn't really present myself in terms of what I knew, my education and all that stuff. I didn't present myself that way because my mind was focused on other things. Keith, you talked about your appearance and how people, you know what I'm saying, how people treated you based on your appearance and all that stuff. Me, I was invisible, man. You know what I'm saying? I was invisible, so I didn't matter. I didn't count. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't one of the pretty kids. Even though I had that background based on my own personal
Believe.
Willingness to learn and learn about different places and understand. I remember, man, my biggest thing was to understand Shakespeare. And I remember when this woman put that book, she would leave books for me to read. Because I went to the library every day. She would leave books for me to read, and she put Shakespeare down, and I was reading that shit, and I didn't understand a damn thing. You know what I'm saying? And she would come and say, well, what do you think? And what do you think it's saying, or whatever. So eventually I started understanding that shit. I started understanding what they was talking about. You know what I'm saying? And the passion behind it and all this stuff. And I would be sitting in my classroom thinking, man, I know Shakespeare. You know what I'm saying? I know Shakespeare. But because I wasn't being paid attention to, because nobody drew it out of me, because I was invisible, I couldn't express my intellect. But when my parents got the progress reports and shit, oh, he's not understanding, he's not comprehending. You know what I'm saying? So what did I wind up being? I wound up being that guy over here who was weird and shit. See what I'm saying? I became that guy who was weird, who was the nerd, who spoke proper because I took speech classes. You know what I'm saying? So what does a kid do in that situation? They start being the class clown. They start dumbing down. They stop raising their hand. They stop doing all those things. So that was my experience, man. You know what I'm saying? So I fell into the role of being an invisible person. Even though I was a knowledgeable person, I fell into the role of being invisible, and that was comfortable for me because it allowed me not to address, you know what I'm saying? It allowed me not to address what I was getting from, those low grades and those progress reports and stuff like that. Hey, I would rather be over here and not really express myself. You know what I'm saying? I express myself by listening to music. I express myself by writing poetry. I express myself by what I encapsulated in my own personal world. That was important to me. Yeah, it made me the odd man out, but I was the smartest person in that. You understand what I'm saying? I was the smartest person in that, in my own space. And I was comfortable with that, even though I was being told that I wasn't. It's a funny thing how school can be beneficial to you, but it can also be detrimental if a person or a teacher can't pull that out of you and get you to express yourself. You know what I'm saying? A kid can have a wealth of knowledge, man, but if they don't have that right person in there, in that situation, say, hey, what did you do today? I went to the library. What did you read? Oh, I read Shakespeare. Oh shit, tell me about that. That's all it would have taken. That's all it would have taken for me. Just to have that personal attention. But as a kid, not knowing any better, it was easy to sit back and say, okay, nobody really gives a damn anyway. And I know uh, when that progress report get home, I'm gonna get it in that aspect too. I'm gonna get it in that aspect too. So it's so I became suppressed by uh, being invisible, man. You know,
Okay.
I
Okay.
became suppressed by being invisible, not nobody paying attention, nobody asking questions,
Okay.
except for uh that woman that worked in the library and shit.
All right. Oh, here's the reason why I asked. Okay, we're here today because we had concerns about present day, right? I asked each and one of you to tell your story, right? Even though it was condensed, you did the best that you could, correct? Now tell me, and I asked you, Terry, I asked you, Kwame, I asked you, Bill Blass, what between our story and the stories that you hear today and you experience today, is there any difference? Is there any difference? The four of us, there are children who experience each of our stories right now in this very day.
I don't see that there is much of a difference, man. I mean, because as disinterested when as I felt as people were as disinterested in me as my brother said that they were in him. Even though I was feeling that, I still had examples of educated people at home. And as far as affluence, they weren't. I mean, our parents weren't affluent like that. But they understood the value of knowing things that cultivated your mind. I mean, we all know, all three of us know, we can sit down and talk to our parents about anything. And when I say anything, I mean classical music, uh, literature, to doggone what goes on in the streets. And once you become a well-rounded person like that, I mean, your options broaden so much. You get into the mindset where you got to do something. You got to do something other than perpetuate what you see going on in front of you.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is what we're going to do. Damon has his segment at the end, and this has been a very enlightening conversation. What we're going to do for you, Bill Blash, we're going to read it because I had the brothers speak on their experiences to really answer your statement. It's not a question, it was a statement. So, what Bill Blash said, just for recognition, black teachers teach black kids. We had our own schools in our own neighborhoods. Dr. King he realized this too late when he said, I think I have led my people into a burning building. Now, the bottom line is this. I'm going to let you speak on it since you're our special guest, Willie J Davis. And then Damon, we're going to go into you. Just just talk about it real quickly. because we heard both your eloquent words, and y'all like them socialists, man. Y'all gotta get up on your soapboxes. We on the same page, guys. We on the same page. We're gonna start with you, Willie. Go ahead, brother.
I'm going to keep it simple. The the statement has had me thinking about so much as I've been listening to everybody continuously through that I've almost been distracted within that question, that statement. And I think that's something we need to look at and assess where we're at, assess the damage, assess where we could go. And like I said, for each and every individual we're trying to provide this hope and opportunity for, we need to look and make sure we create vessels in which that's forever flowing and can be. And we need to look at it in a way that's forever assessing our surroundings, because with every good thing that empowers us and our people, there's always a threat. Because if we stay together, we will have hope. But if we allow ourselves to be separated, diluted, we won't have that hope. Just like when we're oppressed and all of a sudden we have a commonality, a common goal to work towards, we stay there and we get there. The only way to defeat us is to break somebody off a little something special. So in order to get out that burning building, to look at where we're at in education and what we're providing for our children, we need to look at it and constantly have components, quarters, monthly, yearly, whatever it would be, to assess where we're at and how we can continue to have that as we look at the threats surrounding us, whether it be the money, the politics, financials, who coming for us, who not. Because if we were to do that and do it successfully, we will create some powerful entities that are starting to push our children where they need to be, push us where we need to be, where we're not simply trying to fight against somebody that's trying to oppress us or stop our vote. Why are we sitting here trying to create ways to stop somebody from stopping something that's supposed to be a right of yours? Why are we sitting here trying to protect things that are supposed to be yours? How many of you give up your right to vote because of your frustration? You're allowing them to win. So how many people had grandparents and ancestors with the burns of the neck from being hung? They was hung for nothing. Have you ever seen a dead man cry? They crying every time we not taking advantage of what's supposed to be ours through the blood, sweat, and tears that have already been paid. Your boy Baldwin said, we already purchased the crown. We just need to wear it. That's it. That's my short answer.
Very eloquent. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
My brother,
All right,
my brother ain't messing around tonight.
Take us all home, Damon.
I'm gonna keep it simple, man. Based on my own personal experiences, man. One thing that I've spoke to being invisible, man. The one thing I didn't want for my kids, man, is to experience that feeling. You know what I'm saying? So that required me to pay attention. You know what I'm saying? And paying attention is work when it comes to your children, man. It's work because you have to be able to, on one side, as in terms of being a parent, you want to talk about your pitfalls and try to convince them how to avoid your pitfalls. You know what I'm saying? So there's that element where you're saying, And look, don't do this and don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Whereas what I came to understand about my own kids, man, is that they all different. They all grew up in the same house, but they different. I got 2 girls and 1 son, and all 3 of them, there's a common space where they meet, but they come to that space from their own perspectives, and it's different. You know what I'm saying? So as a parent, I had to understand when I'm sitting here and I'm talking to my son, I'm listening to what he's saying. You know, what his experience, I might come to understand that what he's experiencing is like, man, come on, man, you can overcome that. You know what I'm saying? And he looking at me like, dude, I ain't you. You know what I'm saying? I'm taking this shit personal. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you want to kick it with me, understand that I take it personal. And that's okay. All right, Sam. Well, dude, what do you feel is the answer to your dilemma, man? What you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? And once we began that conversation, then it takes on, it takes on a life of its own in terms of him and his thinking process. You know what I'm saying? So now when he goes into situations, he understands that he's able to overcome his dilemmas based on his understanding of himself. You understand what I'm saying? Of himself. And the same with my daughters. You know what I'm saying? Because the one thing that you don't want to teach your child is that they have to succumb to the world. You know what I'm saying? If you believe in a higher power and you believe that you're put on this on this earth for a purpose, then what you think and how you feel matters. It matters. And that's your path, not anybody else's. Everybody can't be a basketball player, rapper, or a college grad. You know what I'm saying? What you are is who you are. It's who you are, and what you believe in terms of what you believe in yourself. It's what it is. When you start deviating from that shit, that's where you mess up. That's where you get lost. That's where you become invisible. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, all 3 of my kids were different, and they grew up in the same house, and they all are dynamic in their own way. You know what I'm saying? And that's I used to tell my kids all the time. I said, my job is not to dictate to you. My job, you God's kids. My job is not to derail you or mess you up. You know what it's going to take for you to be successful in life based on who you are. You already know that. I just have to guide you, steer you, or whatever, and allow you to make your mistakes. And then say, like Pop used to say to me, well, what you learn, son? Put it in practice. Understand when you lose, that loss hurts. Becoming invisible hurts. You know what I'm saying? So what do you do to make your mark in this world? Your mark is not anybody else's. Your mark is your shit. You know what I'm saying? How you think, how you believe, how you perceive things. How do things fit into your life? If it don't matter, if it don't work for you, then discard it and stay on your path. And that's it.
Okay. Look, let me tell you. This is a Strong Perspective podcast. And what we do here is we have everyday conversations with everyday people. Period. This is what we do. This is our wheelhouse because we're having conversation with people that we love having conversation with. Everybody we bring on here, they are personal friends to us. And they got something to say. Period. Little housekeeping. Go to our YouTube channel. Like, share, and subscribe to our joint. Because we want to reach as many people as we need to reach just to build a foundation, period. You see our email address, strongperspective123@gmail. You have questions you want us to address on the program, we'll look at it during the week. If you want to come on to the program that you don't have any personal contact information between the three of us, put it in that email and we'll get back to you. All right? This is Keith Armstrong. I'm one of your hosts. Y'all have a good night. Damon, Jaquari, Willie. Last words, baby. What's up? Let them know.
Thank you for the venue. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all program. I'll see y'all at the top.
No doubt.
The Jungle Creed said the strong. The Jungle Creed said the strong. Stop interrupting me, bro. the Jungle Creed said the strong must feed on any prey at hand. I sat at the feast and was branded a beast before I was a.
No, he didn't just freeze, did he, dog?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Hey, no, that was a hell of a. Hey, good job, Jaquari. Damon, last words, man.
Look here, man. The one thing, man, never stop growing, man. I'm in the midst of finding my spirituality, man. You know what I'm saying? Staying humble and asking for guidance, praying for guidance. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at.
Man. All right, stay on. No, man, hey, it was great. We just got the last. We didn't get the last word. Give us the last word. Give us the last sentence, brother. Come on, dog.
He froze. Hey, they ain't never the devil.
It's on the Zam.
Oh, shit. All right, stay on, fellas. But we getting ready to go off live. This is Strong Perspective Podcast. Thanks everybody who rode the ride with us. Thank you again, Willie J Davis, brother. Great brother. Thank you.
I'm Willie J Davis filling in for Jaquari. He's froze right now.
All right, good night. Have a good week.
All right.